So with that, let me turn it over to our fearless leader, Linda Woloshansky, the CEO and founder of Ready Northwest Indiana. Linda, please come up and let's give a big round of applause for all you've done for us.
Well, good morning to everyone here, and we are so pleased that you have joined us for the second annual Summer Institute. The second annual, that means there will be more to come. So this institute itself has really embodied what we believed and hoped for all along. You know, we have presenters here that represent best practices here in Northwest Indiana. And then we have brought forward today other innovators, some other best practices from around the country and around the state so that we can learn from them as well. And once again, that has been part of the whole kind of Ready strategy, that we do have these best practices, and we want to explore them, we want to expand them, and we want to align them throughout Northwest Indiana and throughout all of our schools. So we are so glad that you're here today to learn more about all of these strategies. I want to start out by just thanking a few people and recognizing a few people as well. You know, first, Dr. Peggy Buffington, who I believe stepped out for a moment. She certainly has been an inspiration to us all, and she has always been here to support the Ready initiative and this annual summit. You know, Don Babcock for all that he does for this community. And Chip Pettit, I think, is here as well. And these three people are from Crown Point High School. Chip, where are you? There he is. Okay, Chip. Thank you. Thank you. Right over there in the corner. You know, these folks are folks that you can always count on. They're folks that will always say yes. And as far as I'm concerned, they really are true servant leaders, whether they are in the private sector or in the public sector. Peggy, Don, and Chip are some of our finest examples, and I want to thank each of you. As I said, we have local experts who will be presenting, and I'm going to save their introductions to later, but there are a number of folks that have come from outside of Northwest Indiana, and just briefly I will acknowledge them, and they'll have more formal introductions right before their presentations. Of course, we have Dr. Vince Bertram with us, with the CEO of Project Lead the Way, and we so appreciate the time that you're taking to share your thoughts with us, Dr. Bertram. Dr. Diane Bryers, who's the president-elect of the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, is here with us as well. Lori Ferry from the Department of Education representing Superintendent Ritz. She is the K-12 Math and STEM Specialist. We have Matt Fleck here from Fleck Educational Services. He was a former director of career and technical education in the state of Indiana. And we have Todd Hurst with us, who's the Director of Education and Workforce Innovation Network through CEL. Christine Powell, the former Director of Secondary Education with the Kentucky Department of Education. We will also have with us Rick Bryant from ACT, who has devoted, there he is, hi Rick, who's devoted so much time to Northwest Indiana, giving freely of advice and consultation, technical assistance, coming in for training. We could not have been doing this without you, Rick. Thank you so much. Also with us, I noticed as I was looking at the registration list that we have Dr. Vernon Smith here from the Gary School System, who's also one of our state representatives. I saw him earlier. There he is. Thank you so much for being here today. And I do want to make another local introduction, and that is Ready has a new director, and that is Bev Morovich. Bev, do you want to kind of raise your hand? You are going to be seeing a lot of Bev over the next several years as we further kind of accelerate the work of Ready and move things forward. So let me tell you a little bit about Ready, for those of you that do not know about Ready. Ready is the Regional Education and Employer Alliance to Develop Youth, Ready. Really stems from a lot of work that was done a number of years ago with the business community and in our school systems to get folks ready for the future. It is a structure, really. It is, a way for us to really talk about what's going on in Northwest Indiana. And it is a combination of education, workforce, and economic development. really connecting things together. And this connection and this alignment has been sorely missing. You know, you heard Peggy talk about the fact that we have the goal of 2025 having 60% of our workforce having an associate or baccalaureate degree at a minimum. But in addition to that, we also need post-secondary credentials. And we essentially figured that 360,000 workers by the year 2025 will need that post-secondary credential, 2-year or 4-year degree. And that is, of course, a huge number. We have a long way to go because right now we're at about a 37% rate for our adults. And as you can see, we're looking at moving over 120,000 people into that higher level of skill sets. You know, the mission here of READY has been just to accelerate the year-by-year progress to achieve this vision and to get more folks, more students really focused on both educational opportunities as well as employment opportunities, and to really make it relevant for them so that we can ensure that they are receiving these credentials in post-secondary education. And you are critical to that, and that's why you're here today. You know, in terms of background, READY is an initiative that had really started numerous years ago. We say 2009, but actually I think it was in 2008 when I was first introduced to Dr. Eric Ban when he was a new principal. I didn't know you were a brand new principal when you called. When Chancellor Cohen made that introduction, to me you seemed very seasoned. You'd been around for a long time. Little did I know that you were a novice in all of this. So what a wonderful surprise that has been. But essentially, at that moment, 2008, 2009, with Dr. Ban, we started to really convene the community, bringing the business leadership together with the school leadership, the K through 12 leadership, the higher ed leadership, to talk about what was needed in Northwest Indiana, what we needed to do to ensure that we would have a vital community, a community that where companies would want to stay, where companies would want to locate, and where people would have really wonderful employment opportunities. And as any initiative, it takes a long time to move that agenda forward. I took a number of steps. We went over to the Lumina Foundation. We met with the governor's office. We met with the Commission of Higher Education. We met with the Education Roundtable. We told them what the desire was, and we talked about innovations that were already occurring using the Crown Point school system really as an example. In 2011, we were able to get a small grant from the Lumina Foundation to start the planning process. And, you know, we started to really organize our thinking, and we had 2 incredible summits. One was here in this room, February 23rd, 2011. I will never forget it. We had Dr. Martha Cantor here, the Assistant Secretary of Education, who was so inspiring and left here talking about Northwest Indiana. Everywhere she went, we would get feedback from California and from Washington and from other states that she had mentioned what was going on with the READY initiative in Northwest Indiana, and that was so inspiring. And then we were able to bring through the efforts of the Northwest Indiana Forum and others, Arnie Duncan here, who also then heard about us and essentially has championed our work throughout time. We started to set goals. Why are we doing this? What do we need to achieve? And as we've already talked about them, 80% of folks entering the labor force with a post-secondary credential, 60% with a 2- or 4-year degree, and 100% of our students graduating high school directly entering post-secondary education without the need for any remediation, which we do want to stress is so critical. And I know that you want that for your students as well. And that's why you're here learning and doing more today. We created a website. We launched the first Summer Institute last summer. We assessed 5,000 young people last year, 8th graders, with Explore. And from that, then, the College Acceleration Network stepped in, was developed, and essentially did all of the coaching that occurred last year with you at your schools to ensure that you knew how to use Explore, how to unpack the data, and how to essentially take it into your classrooms. We issued the first dual credit report and saw that we had 9,600 dual credits or college credits being awarded to our young people in our high schools that were graduating. And we're looking forward to even a more robust figure this year. You know, we've received a small grant from Fifth Third Bank so that we can create videos. We're talking about relevance. So we are in the process of creating videos that will then be used in your classrooms, that you can use with your students, that will show them how their peers, young adults who are now working in businesses in Northwest Indiana, are using their degrees, using their post-secondary education, and how they're advancing those companies, and how exciting it is. We shot the first video 2 weeks ago, and it's really phenomenal and very inspiring, and so we look forward to rolling that out after the first of the year. We were able to receive a grant from the Education and Workforce Innovation Network through CEL that's going to help us actually replicate career and technical education programs, some of our best practices throughout Northwest Indiana, so you'll have some technical assistance available to figure out how you can take some of those best practices and bring them into your school, or if your school is one of the best practices, how you might be able to help others do the same thing. And of course, we received the grant from the Indiana Department of Education. Both CWI and CAN spent all of the Christmas holiday, wrapping up this application, and we were pleased, of course, that we were actually awarded the funds to make this happen. And that was no small feat. There were only 10 grants that were awarded throughout the state, and so we're really pleased that we were able to bring them on board. And with that, we were able to keep moving forward. And a couple of people that I want to introduce before I ask Dr. Band to come up here is Dr. Marion Hoyda. Most of you probably know her because she's been in your school. She is the Northwest Indiana CAN Project Manager. Marion, you want to raise your hand? Very good, Marion. And of course, Dr. Nancy Sutton, who is now the Executive Director of CAN, and who has really organized our event here the next 2 days, as well as doing a lot of other things for CAN.